So my personal favorite rival in all of Pokemon has always been Trainer Silver, and that has to do because of the fact that his background and backstory is pretty much some of the coolest. And he's pretty much the only character in Pokemon that is your rival, but actually shows like a massive level of growth as a character in the games, as he starts as this dark and evil character and then evolves, and that's why I love him as a rival. Hence why today I want to share some of the random facts about Pokemon Trainer Silver that some of you may or may not know, and that's what we're doing today, so let's hop onto it. So first up, did you know that Silver is going to get Ho-Oh as his Pokemon in Pokemon Masters as a legendary? And what is interesting is that a Twitter user by the name of 70 Suiro Fusion on Twitter discovered that Silver getting Ho-Oh might be a continuation of this situation you see on the screen here. So what you can see on the screen is where Silver is basically saying, "I'll train my Pokemon and my own heart too." And then looking at the Pokedex entries from Gold, Silver, and Crystal, when we look at the specifically Crystal entry, it mentions that Ho-Oh will reveal itself before a pure-hearted trainer by shining its bright rainbow-colored wings, which makes for a really insane and cool reference and really shows how interconnected the lore and stuff in Pokemon actually is and can be. And here we get to see the fact that basically he's going to get Ho-Oh in the game because they hinted at it back in the day through the games and the Pokedex entries, as Ho-Oh will only go to a pure-hearted trainer. And since after like you complete the game in Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the whole goal of Silver at that point is to improve and become a better person. So it's a really cool little lore piece and a really cool fact in my opinion. Let's go to the next one. So what is next is a fact that most people would know, but some may have missed, but it's the fact that Silver is Giovanni's true son, who was meant to take on his father's mantle. And in Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, there is a specific event that expands upon specifically their relationship. If you have a faithful encounter Celebi, which you may have received from an event, and you bring it specifically to the Ilex Forest Shrine, you will be able to be brought back 3 years in time by Celebi and witness Giovanni abandoning Silver to go into seclusion after being defeated at the hands of Pokemon Trainer Red, aka basically us as the players. And this is where the hatred, which Silver then has for Team Rocket stems from, which is all because of the failure of his father. Did you know that in Pokemon Stadium 2, we actually see Silver show up? However, he's called Rival in Pokemon Stadium 2, and what is really interesting is that he only uses legendary Pokemon in his team. In the first round, he uses Mewtwo, Ho-Oh, and Lugia, and in round 2, he uses the same Pokemon, but in a different order. And it's a really cool thing considering that Lugia and Ho-Oh are the main legendaries from the region where Silver is from, which is Johto. And then on top of that, Mewtwo is a Pokemon that was literally created by Silver's father, Giovanni, through the use of the scientists who took the Mew DNA, of course, and then created Mewtwo through that. However, an overall really cool situation, I would say. Like, seeing him using 3 legendaries is an honestly kind of epic moment, if I'm gonna be honest with you. So, a really cool little side fact, and I really like this one. So, a interesting fact is that once you've completed the games and become champion, you can find Silver in the Dragon's Den on specifically Tuesday and Thursday training his Pokemon, but he cannot be battled while you find him there. But on Monday and Wednesday though, he will appear at the Indigo Plateau and will challenge the player to a battle, and he does not appear at all on Friday or the weekends, which would imply that he's basically resting up his Pokemon on those days where he's not battling, which is Friday and the weekends, which is really cool because, this is the point where basically he's decided that, hey, I'm gonna become a better person, I'm gonna become a better trainer and actually show love to the Pokemon I own instead of like harming them and forcing them to do certain things, which is really kind of interesting. And the fact that he specifically takes the weekends off to let his Pokemon rest shows that he's grown as a character. It's these small little things that Game Freak leaves in the games, which I really, really like. Here's the next fact. After Silver finally seems to have learned to care for his Pokemon properly, we see that his Golbat has evolved into a Crobat, which only occurs when the Golbat is like very friendly to the trainer and has a good relationship with its trainer. So this is like a further kind of like way for them to show us that he's actually become a better trainer. This is further actually expressed in Generation 4's Heart Gold and Soul Silver when his starter Pokemon starts to follow him around, much like the player's Pokemon, which is really interesting because they will only do that if they actually, feel a good relationship to their trainer. But what's also interesting is that even Professor Elm expressly states that Silver's Pokemon have come to trust him when Silver returns to the lab to give back the Pokemon that he had stolen. presumably to return the Pokemon he had stolen. And in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, also Lance and Claire will appear in the Dragon's Den and challenge the player and Silver to a multi-battle following the battle at Mount Moon, giving him the chance to avenge his loss from earlier in the game, which is a honestly really cool thing. And it's kind of a cool way to see how like Silver, back when you were like in Goldenrod, he was really pissed off. He wanted to like catch up to Lance and battle him again and that sort of stuff. And then, it's just kind of a cool way they interconnect stories. I really like that. Silver is the darkest rival character in all of Pokemon, so this is something we've kind of already a little bit talked about here, but genuinely, like honestly, comparing him to any other rival, he definitely has the darkest personality. It's in general like not a good person. He is cruel, hateful, and obsessed with getting power, which ends up with him being abusive towards his Pokemon and the people around him, like the player character. So Silver does eventually though evolve and becomes kinder, but still does remain a very serious person, but does seem to have gained loads of joy in his life, and also just generally is a better person. And it's a thing that we interestingly do see when he shows up at Elm's lab and whatnot, and Elm actually allows him to keep the Pokemon that he stole at the start of the game, which leads us basically to the conclusion that he's evolved as a character. And that also leads us to the next fact in the video, which is that Silver is the only rival to not be given his starter Pokemon, legitimately by a professor in all of Pokemon. He's the only one who's actually stolen his starter. And this is also another way we can see the influence of his father in him, right? As he did something that you would only really see evil teams like Team Rocket doing, which is to steal other people's Pokemon. This has remained consistent, however, throughout like Pokemon, and this is something we haven't seen a single character since Silver actually do. And we haven't seen anybody this dark and just different and really like grim as a character ever since Silver. So it's consistently stayed that over the whole generations we've been through since Gen 2. Nobody's been that dark the way that Silver was, and that's what also makes him very unique and interesting as a character. So we already talked about the fact that Giovanni is Silver's father, but did you know that Giovanni and Silver's relationship is actually first alluded to and hinted at in Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, when a Team Rocket scientist known as Gideon, who you meet at the Team Rocket warehouse on the 5 Island, asks the player that, being Red, or you are being Red at that point, he asks you, are you Giovanni's kid? But concludes afterwards that Red, or you as a player, are not Giovanni's kid, pointing out specifically that Giovanni's kid has red hair. An interesting hint towards what was going to be revealed later on in Pokemon, the Pokemon Gold Silver remakes, being Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and it basically hints towards what was going to be coming next, or what was going to be mentioned next, which is a really cool way to hint future events or reveals. Next is the fact that Silver hates Team Rocket because of his father's failure. This is something we already kind of talked about, but did you know that like in the Pokemon Adventures manga, as well as some of the Pokemon Generations anime, we actually get to see Silver accept the fact that Giovanni is his father, and that his father is basically an evil person. And this is a quote from the 26th volume of the Pokemon Adventures manga, where Silver specifically says, "I don't know what my father intends to do about Team Rocket or about me, but whatever happens from here on, my heart is already set. I'm going to live on without running away from the fact that Giovanni's my father. I won't let my father commit another crime, and for all the wrongdoings that he's responsible for, I will share the burden with him. I'll keep going and working hard to atone for his crimes." And this kind of shows you the way he grows as a person, and also shows you another hint as to why he may be the trainer receiving Ho-Oh rather than Ethan receiving Ho-Oh, which is the fact that he specifically points out, "My heart is already set." Again, hinting at the heart, which is something that Ho-Oh looks for, somebody who's pure-hearted. And here clearly we see that Silver wants to become better. He wants to gain a pure heart, which I think he does end up doing. So this is a small fact, and this is the last fact, but did you know that Silver shows up in the anime movie The Legend of Thunder, which was a odd little Pokemon movie that was made for, like a made-for-TV anime movie, which aired in Japan in December of 2001. And in the opening parts of the anime, you actually get to see a representation of Silver, and he uses a Nidoking, a Pokemon which, interestingly enough, is a Pokemon often used by his father Giovanni. He only really appears though in the opening of the anime, where he defeats Jimmy with his Nidoking, and later on gets defeated by Jimmy's Cyndaquil once it's fully evolved into Typhlosion. A really kind of strange little anime movie, and it doesn't really feature much more of like Silver, but we also get to see Silver in the Generations anime for a single episodes and stuff like that. So yeah, and also now he's in Pokemon Masters, so I guess we'll see him there. And so that is the end of the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, then drop a like down below. Let's see if we can get this video to maybe 500 likes for another episode like this about a different character. And that's actually what I want to talk about today. What character do you want to see next? We can do anybody. You want to see Professor Elm, you want to see Trainer Red, you want to see somebody else. Leave comments down below telling me what trainer you want to see next for these videos. And also, if you guys wouldn't mind, check out my anime channel, Legit Anbu, where I'm going to be posting top 10s about Naruto, Dragon Ball, every sort of like popular anime you can think of. I'm going to be posting top 10s about them and that sort of stuff. So check it out if you're into that sort of content and you want to see some of that. Check it out, give it some love, and thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you all the next time. Have a great day, and bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen.